You're listening to Remotely We Are One, a podcast to help inspire others to take their lives back from the office commute. I'm Rick, a passionate beer rep who loves the industry but hates the commute.
And I'm Kaleem, a remote work advocate and consultant. We're going to speak with some of the top professionals who have managed to avoid the commute as they share stories from the most inspiring to the most comical, all while working remotely.
Man, this sounds exciting. Let's clock in.
Rick, are you frozen?
No. Can you hear me?
Why do you look so lost? How are you lost in your own closet, bro? You look lost in your own closet.
I'll tell you why, because as I was getting set up, a friggin' tornado watch came across my screen and it jarred me because my daughter is terrified of tornadoes. So I'm like on the edge right now.
It came through and hit us earlier, man. It was crazy. Trees were like all moving around and shit. It was pretty intense, actually.
That's no bueno.
Rick, where are you calling in from?
Charlotte.
There we go.
Charlotte, North Carolina.
Love Charlotte.
We're in the hotness down here. So where are you located?
Today, I am in Chicago. So frequently floating around. And yeah, I'm either Milwaukee, Chicago, Green Bay, or sometimes Florida, but always on the move these days.
Welcome back to Remotely One. I'm your host, Rick Haney, with the shiny and well-adjusted Kaleem Clarkson. Hey, buddy.
I'm sorry, man. This light is shining right off my face.
Oh, you look great.
I did put on a new lather. I mean, everybody knows how we do it.
Shiny, happy people. That's what they say. That's what they say. Hey, since you know how to find us, do us a favor and go over to ratethispodcast.com/remotely1 and leave us a review. That would be awesome. That's ratethispodcast.com/remotely1. And if you could do that for us, we would be ever so thankful.
Thank you.
Since 2015, Remotely One is one of the largest communities of remote work professionals with over 2,500 Slack members and 4,000 email subscribers. It's free to join. Go ahead, check us out at remotely1.com. And with that out of the way, Kaleem, give us a teaser too about today's guest.
Oh, yeah. You know what happens before every guest, Rick?
Oh, you got the butterflies.
Oh, I got the
butterflies, son.
I've already sweat through my Thompson t-shirt with the pads underneath my armpits.
Oh, boy.
I got my, not Walter today because it's at the dry cleaners. I'm a little upset, but I got my 2-3 Devin Hester Bears jersey on for our guest because our guest today, Rick, is from Chicago.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. He's from Chicago, son. He's from Chicago.
Yeah.
He once made a snowmaker with a compressor, a garden hose, some piping, and he brought that shit in for show and tell. Oh, it was the best. I can't wait. I can't wait.
We're going to talk more about that.
Yes. He was the first student to graduate with an entrepreneur degree from Marquette. He was the first student. They had entrepreneurship before, but then they turned it into a final program, and he was the first student. So we got history, son.
Numero uno, the originalist.
Number one. And I can't help it. He like I. He's a fellow die-hard Chicago Bears fan. Bear down, baby. Bear down. We got the number one pick. Last but not least, he is the CEO and co-founder of Lillipad, which is the world's most versatile workstation. Listeners, viewers, please give a warm welcome to Colin Dowdle.
Hey, all right.
Hey. Let's go, baby.
Thanks, Colin.
Let's go.
Welcome to the zoo.
Thanks for having me. How's it going?
As you can see and hear, Kaleem is excited, as am I. Don't get me wrong. We're excited to have you join us, man. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Very, very pumped. Thanks for having me on. I big listener, big fan, and if you're like me and travel in the car going to and from manufacturing facilities all the time, this is a no-brainer. So pumped to be on a great podcast with you two.
Son, I'm blushing a little. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
obviously,
I've got to correct Kaleem. I'm not the first one to graduate from Marquette with an entrepreneurship degree.
Damn it!
Oh, another correction.
We keep on getting corrected in our own show. It's all the research that we do. It's all the research we do.
There you go. I think I was the first ones to do it with just an entrepreneurship degree. A lot of people kind of just tacked on an entrepreneurship minor as their second
that's
one.
Still an accomplishment, though.
Yeah, stop. You know what? Just stop toning it down, Colin. Own the shit.
Yes.
You're the first MFer to graduate from there. Just own it, bro.
I wasn't putting entrepreneurship as a minor. I wanted the major and I went for it. So that's what's up.
Well, you know what?
Well, you're in the major leagues now, man.
I think you might have picked, based on why you're here today, bro. I have a feeling you might have picked the right degree. So
yeah.
It's open.
No question about it. Well, we talked a little bit about it in the pre-show, but I want to dive a little deeper into your background. I mean, you've done some pretty interesting things. We talked about the snowmaker. You worked for Tide. You made backyard hockey rinks. How did all of this lead to a career in improving remote work?
Yeah, that's a great question. One that is more fun to talk about with guys like you than others, but it kind of evolved. It's in its own path. So kind of the hockey rinks, I grew up with a backyard ice rink with my brothers, and my dad would build it for us, which kind of comes full circle. He is my co-founder at Lillipad, but he and I and our brothers used to build a backyard ice rink up in the Chicago suburbs, and the best childhood memories far and away. We're skating back there after school and on the weekends. And I got to high school, and one of my cousins sent me a note and saying, "Hey, can you build a backyard ice rink for our kids?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think I can break out the tools." And I've always been somewhat handy, and I love a good DIY project in the garage. So built them a great backyard rink. One thing led to the next. Hired on some of my buddies as employees, and throughout my time at Marquette, I ran kind of what I called wakes to flakes. Wakes
to flakes, baby. Yeah. It's snowing in the summertime.
So the story there is I used to make surfboards in the summertime for like in interlake surfing behind a boat. And that's like the wakes aspect, and then the snowmaking, and then hockey rinks being the flakes part of it. But it was a good hobby.
I gotta ask, did you use it too?
Sure did. Absolutely.
Yes.
Fantastic.
It was good.
You're a professional, bro. You're a professional.
Genius.
I'll have to say I do the logo. It's pretty funny and pretty amateur. But kind of how it all comes about is, I mean, I saw that as an opportunity, and it was my first entrepreneurial like gig outside of lemonade stands. And I mean, you learn a lot quickly, and there's some ice rinks that you screw up, and it's not so fun when you get a phone call saying my backyard is flooding because your rink collapsed. But you got to learn from those mistakes and just start to love the path of working for yourself and building something that people want and people enjoy. And that's kind of led one thing to the next. The story gets longer, but I'll cut it off there of what we've got today.
Wow.
Interesting, man. So just high school. So Colin, you do wakes to flakes, right?
Yeah.
Then you go to college. So you're in the entrepreneurship program.
Mm-hmm.
Do you graduate and then start thinking about the table? What happens next? What's the next steps?
For sure. So Marquette had a great entrepreneurship program. It's called the Kohler Center of Entrepreneurship. So, the Kohler equipment in bathrooms and in houses, sinks, whatnot. They were phenomenal, and they encouraged us to kind of take internships with startups, take internships with larger companies, or doing your own thing. So they gave me credit for doing the ice rinks in the wintertime, which was phenomenal. And then I turned that around and did some work for a startup called Pressbox at the time. It was on-demand dry cleaning. So if you imagine the package lockers that you'll see at a Home Depot or Amazon lockers, right? When you walk into a grocery store. Mm-hmm. So the model was doing that for dry cleaning in multifamily and business high-rise buildings. So come down to a locker, throw your dirty clothes, your Walter Payton jersey, text us which locker you put it in. We'll swing by, pick it up, dry clean it, drop it off 2 days later, let you know what locker it's in, and with a code, and you can pick it up whatever time you want. So a 24/7 access to dry cleaning. My job was going more and more remote throughout the work that I was doing. So I knew I was going to be remote Mondays and Fridays, and it's actually kind of the 3-year anniversary of Lillipad on a napkin. So at the turn of the year between 2019 and 2020, I was working from home with 2 of my roommates in Lincoln Park of Chicago, and it was very difficult to get productive. I tried to go on, and I was like, all right, well, I need a better solution here for a 3-bedroom apartment. Wanted a standing desk like we had all seen in the corporate office, but stopped myself with a few different questions, right? And like, okay, so this isn't come in 3 different boxes. I'm gonna have to go up and get my toolbox from my parents' house. It's clunky. It's designed for a commercial office. It's not designed for a home. And where am I going to put it? I can't just selfishly take up permanent living space in the living room where I have 2 other roommates kind of there all the time. And what happens when we have buddies over to watch the Bears games or college football, right? Oh, is my work equipment going to be out? That's not too reasonable. And then if I work in my bedroom, the Wi-Fi back there doesn't work as well. So it wouldn't really even be productive.
So in that living space, just I'm curious, how big is your living space? Like, I mean, is this typical early living days? Like,
yeah. Like
five roommates in a 1,000 square foot apartment.
Yeah. Stacked to the brim. You're talking 3 roommates, entry-level jobs, dishes filled to the top of the sink, and all you really care about is getting through the week and getting to softball on Thursday nights so you can just link up with your other buddies. But yeah, 3-bedroom apartment, tiny space in Chicago, and not San Francisco or New York tiny, but pretty small. 2 TVs on the wall, which is another funny story. Don't mean to go on a tangent, but none of my buddies know how to hang TVs, which ties into Lillipad, and I'll get to that in a second. So I've hung hundreds and hundreds of TVs for people 6 years older than me or my year. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I get texts to this day, hey, can you swing by and hang my TV? And the reason being is what that showed me in creation of Lillipad is that my generation is the most mechanically declined generation with tools that I've ever seen.
Wow. I never really thought of it.
Yeah, we don't know how to fix cars. Like, I'm the only one of my buddies that owns a power drill. We live in an on-demand society where people want stuff quickly and they want it done quickly, whereas that ties into the whole no assembly aspect of Lillipad.
Rick, you got a power drill, bub?
I got like 3 or 4 of them.
He's a Milwaukee tool guy.
I don't own a power drill.
I got power drills. I got table saws. I got routers. I've got circular saws. I got wrenches.
It's sad. My partner, she has all the power tools. Yep.
I got an impact wrench with an air compressor guy.
There you go. Now we're talking.
What do you think of that?
I want to go to Rick's house.
Yeah. I could change your tire at 2.5. But
what's funny is I don't even know what that is. Like what you were saying is like, I don't even know what
the speed drill to take your lug nuts off your tire, off your truck, Bubba. Yes.
Nice.
Done.
Okay.
So to get back on track, I was living in that apartment. And I was like, all right, well, getting a height adjustable table in this apartment, it's not feasible at all, right? And what I'm gonna have to go out and find monitor arms. So at that time, I got thinking like there should be a solution that is a height adjustable table. At the time I was thinking about table, not workstation, table that has the necessary integrated features that we need today. So monitor arms, right? Power, like everyone requires power in their desks or when they're doing computer work. But one designed for the home that can be rolled away at the end of the day when you're having friends over for a Friendsgiving or all that other nonsense that happens in these urban apartments, and collapse it and store it away. So you get that work-life balance of like, all right, well, I can work wherever I want. But at the end of the day, when it's time to shut the office down, we can do that. And we can get it out of sight, out of mind for a few hours and recharge the batteries.
Wow.
That's a good idea. I love it.
So you actually just did it.
So, yeah. So that's what happened. Fast forward 3 months, the COVID hits, the whole world's working from home in March. And I was like, oh boy, we might have something here. Started doing tons and tons of market research. I brought the idea to my dad, Jim, who had just wrapped up a very long career at Scripps Networks, launching channels like Food Network and HGTV. And so he was kind of on a little bit of a retirement tour, and he knew he wanted to get back into something. But I brought him this idea of we didn't have the name Lillipad at the time, but I said, hey, this is something I'm thinking about. He said, that's a great solution for the end user like yourself, but that'll be a phenomenal solution for these companies who will have to start launching remote workforces at scale. Because if we can accomplish what we want to accomplish, it will be the only one in the world that ships fully assembled, has the integrated features, and doesn't take up permanent living space. So at the end of the day, it can fit any environment. So from there, we hit the garage, just like we did when we built the ice rinks or the snowmaker or surfboards, and started building out of wood, PVC pipe. I know about every single bay at Lowe's because I've been there probably a couple hundred times, just scanning the aisles for parts that I was in search for. And then got an industrial design firm involved, patented it, went through the whole process.
Wow.
And fast forward, it took us about, I think the final ticker, 16 months to go from first day in the garage to first sale of manufactured certified product. Sorry, not 16 months, 20, I think it was, yeah.
2 years, bro. 2 years,
2
man.
years, yeah. 24 months. There it is.
Yeah.
So you build this thing. I love the fact, because we haven't really had too many guests on the show, Rick, and correct me if I'm wrong here, like that have actually physically built a product. I think, we had someone on who did merchandise.
Yeah.
But I think, Rick, I mean, you kind of know this a little bit too from making taps and stuff like that. How did you make something and then get it to scale? Like, you explain what you did by getting involved with an industrial design firm, but how did you actually, do that process? How did you know that it was the right design from the firm?
For sure. Yeah. So we brought them prototypes. So any advice I'd have for an entrepreneur that wants to get into a hardware product, I always say hardware is hard. In its own right, it is, but all businesses are hard, is try to build it as far as you can yourself, get it in users' hands and tweak it based off of their feedback at the mass scale. So build a prototype, no matter how ugly it looks or how dysfunctional it might be. If it's conceptual and you bring that prototype to an industrial design firm, you'll save yourself tens of thousands of dollars because they already have something to work from. So what the industrial design firm does is they take your prototype, which they'll call a breadboard, and don't ask why, and they'll make that manufacturable to a prototype stage. So they take what you have, they do all the ergonomic assessments, all the geometry down to the exact millimeter, and they create parts on a screen. And then you take those parts and you get them fabricated through 3D printing or just fabrication of metal parts and wood, and try to prove it out of concept to go through that process, which is actual prototyping, so manufactural prototyping. And then you got to go find suppliers, get tools made, do a small batch of production, like go through the whole assembly process, figure out what's going to go wrong, get it in users' hands, have them give you more feedback, retrieve the product, and go through all the processes. So it's a whirlwind.
Seems like it would be quite a learning curve.
Yeah, I don't have an engineering degree. I'm not an engineer by degree, I should say, but maybe by the garage. But like, you got to learn a lot quickly, and fail. One of my favorite quotes is try everything, and if you're going to fail quickly and move on. If you're failing for a long time, you're just going to suck a lot of wind and take it out of your sails.
So let me ask you this: as you were coming up, going through this process, did you have a lot of friends that were working remotely, and were they like your testers, your lab rats? And
100%, and I still do it to this day. So the biggest hurdle, I should say, or the biggest objection to my buddies, male and female, having no remote work setup as far as designated workstation, is space. They don't want to designate permanent living space for them to have stationary height table, a height adjustable table, monitors, a whole slew of equipment in their living rooms or in their bedrooms all the time. Because even if their companies came to them and said, all right, here's the best height adjustable table from one of the biggest companies in Grand Rapids, they would say, that sounds cool, but where am I going to put it? Who's going to assemble it? My lease is up in 2 months. I don't know if it's going to fit in my next lease, so I'm not going to take it. Thank you, though. But with Lillipad, it gives you the certainty that, hey, it's going to work in your environment. It's going to come fully assembled. If you want a single monitor, double monitor, or no monitor at all, we've got you covered. And at the end of the day, you can collapse it, roll it underneath your bed, or if your lease is up, you'll know it'll fit in the next apartment. Just throw it in the trunk of your car, and off you go.
But it sounds so easy.
Yeah, so we got a review this week from
Yeah.
somebody in New Bedford, Mass.
Yeah, New Bedford.
So a random guy found Lillipad, went on and bought, and he said, like, it's my favorite quote or review that we've gotten today. It's just simple yet ingenious, just the simplicity of our design. It's so hard to make something look so simple and function properly, right? Like the Peloton is a beautiful, well-engineered Peloton bike. It looks so simple, but once you get into doing this stuff, it's so difficult to make it functional, the manners that you want. But yeah, it's been a wild ride.
That's amazing. So when you were doing your research, do you find that, I hate using the term generation, but in this context, I have to.
Go for it. Go for it.
Were the numbers telling you that your generation, like more and more people in your generation were working remotely? Or more of them were starting to work remotely?
Yeah. So it was the telltale sign, like during the lockdowns, it was tough to designate that exact metric, right? Because most of them were forced to work remotely.
Of course.
But the telltale sign on our end was, Susie Q just moved from Chicago to Arizona and she's not coming back, but she's keeping her job, right? Or so-and-so big skier, he's been taking 4 plane trips from O'Hare to Denver the last 3 years. He just found an apartment with 2 buddies in Boulder, and he's going to go skiing, and he's keeping his job from Chicago, right? Or so-and-so is working insurance. So that was a telltale sign on our end. It's like, all right, well, this has got to stay, because who's going to be demanding it? And the talent's going to win, and the employee's going to win. So kind of the remote work is here saying, I mean, before we had any manufacturing footprint, I lived up in Green Bay with my fiance at the time, now wife, Katie, and her family for like 3 months, and worked on a freaking ping pong table. And that accelerated I was like, I need a Lillipad as quickly as possible. But Green Bay was a little bit looser with their lockdown laws. Like the golf courses were open up there. Like the fishing was open in Chicago. You couldn't go fishing. So it's kind of crazy. But that was like, our eyes were open to, all right, we can still be productive and work remotely. This has got to be something that's gonna stick.
Yeah, what I really love about this is like the idea, and I'm assuming, you went to school, you're at Marquette, you're doing your thing with the surfboards, and all of a sudden this challenge comes up where you're frustrated. And how many stories have you heard in every entrepreneur story where it's like, I just want, this thing was bothering me, so I created this thing like Slack or whatever, like how many of these stories? And what I love is it's a physical product, and you actually had the perfect target audience to market to, which are your colleagues. And I know, like the question Rick asked about the generation, like a lot of younger people are mobile, but like even as we all grow older, there's always going to be a set of people who just graduated college who, have to live with 3 or 4 friends, because in the beginning, I was talking to a friend of mine, is like, you don't realize how much success has been built upon your first set of roommates, because you could have horrible roommates that don't pay the rent, that like set your couch on fire, that pull in the stray dogs from the street and then lock you in and then shut the door. You have those type of roommates, I'll get you back for that, fellas. I'll get you back for that. But the fact that you did all this, right, and you had that group, to me, that seems really, really, really cool that you're able to build something that's mobile.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to like our generation specifically, whether it's like the product of Lillipad. I mean, we've got people, one of our biggest clients, they're at the average age of their worker is 56 years old, and they're ordering tons and tons of Lillipads. So, I mean, that goes to tell that it spans everyone. But from my point of view and my experience, like in addition to the mechanically declined generation that we are, and they don't know how to hang a TV on the wall or use power drill for the most part. I mean, that's a total generalization.
Huge
but that's what I
generalizations. Don't kill us on the comments, people. Stop it. We all know that there's some dude or lady out there or them that's just building some ish right now that's like 17 years old.
Yeah, from what I've seen in my point of view. And there's tons. I mean, I'm by no manner a wizard or the best. Again, I'm not an engineer by degree. But
I like that. He threw in by degree.
In addition to it is this is a generation that has the least amount of homeowners in history, right? They don't want to own everything. They want to rent, whether it's a house, car, or even furniture or lease. And that kind of accelerated our need to find a product that was portable and mobile and could fit any environment. Because once you leave this lease, what's in store for your next lease, you don't know. But we wanted to make sure that Lillipad could adapt to both environments.
Yeah. So obviously you're a supporter of remote work because Lillipad is a solution to some of remote work's biggest challenges. What are your internal thoughts? So Lillipad, you guys are doing pretty good. You're making some big moves. We're going to see you on TV soon enough. As you grow, obviously, well, hopefully, you've been thinking about how you're going to run internally from, your people outside, from how you're going to explain to maybe if you have to have a warehouse. I mean, because you are building a product. I'm not sure how that's going to be. Where are you kind of thinking you would like to kind of operate, or how are you operating now as a company? And then where do you see yourself heading?
Yeah. It's a great question, and one that I've been thinking about, especially as like everyone's got that notepad of 2023 goals. So we are like a smaller but growing team right now. So we don't have a physical office per se that we go into on the day-to-day. Got a manufacturing facility and suppliers with offices that we're constantly on the move with, and then a lot of our sales meetings are over Zoom or in person when we're doing B2B initiatives and B2B sales meetings. But where I want to be and what I think the perfect balance is having a place where employees can go and making a smaller, cooler office from a startup standpoint. Like I'd love to have a Lillipad office in this, like a storefront somewhere in a kind of relatively large city where it's got a small showroom, and then just very comfortable. If you want to come in and work, you can have your Lillipad, you can wheel it next to a window, or you can wheel it into a room and take an important call. But having a solution where employees can go and connect, I think in-person connectivity is huge, right? Like we've been doing trade shows and conferences, and it's awesome to finally link up with these people we've been talking over Zoom for a couple of years with at trade shows. So in-person connectivity is essential in some capacity. So having a solution where you can go into the office if you want, or if you're fully remote, you got to have a semi-annual retreat or a quarterly retreat or quarterly retreat option where your team can connect and collaborate. Like one of my favorite things is to relate the professional world to sports. Like if everyone's like, all right, go work out at home, right? Go do your lifts and your push-ups and at home, and then we're going to show up to game day and shoot your free throws at home, and let's hope that everything collides well, right? It's not going to. And like there are some teams and companies out there that have fully remote support systems and fully remote employees, and I think it's awesome, and they're doing a great job of doing that, and it's totally manageable. Just me personally, I think that there should be an option for an office or quarterly retreats. That's a long answer.
So you don't know yet, dog. That's basically what you're saying. You would like it to be like that, but you have no idea.
Yeah, I would like it to be like there's some like if you want to come in and maybe but I get it. I'm fully remote right now, and so are my other team members, and we have no problem with it. We love it. Gives you great flexibility.
I think the key word that you kind of brought up as you were explaining that, if you want to come in.
Giving them the
choice.
Right?
If you want to come in, make it a cool spot. If it's not always you must, or we're going to do 2 times. Yeah.
Flexibility is key.
Yeah, if you start forcing an employee's hand, you're going to lose the employee. Like I've got
Yeah.
so many buddies, again, friends, male and female, that would leave their jobs in a second if they were forced to come back 4 days a week, without a doubt.
Wow. Yeah. That's the world we're living in. A lot of people are getting forced back against their will, and they're finding other jobs.
Yeah, adapt or fail, like you can hire the best talent across the world. You can hire the best talent across the world and be as productive. So it's crazy.
Sure.
What's really cool about your product is that, and check it out. I've taken a look. I'm definitely going to order one. Just haven't done one yet. Just haven't ordered it yet. It's definitely convenient.
You want.
And the cool thing about it is that you're going to have, you have B2C, like consumers just, hey, I want to buy this table because I want it. But then you're B2B. What are some of the main reasons that people are reaching out to you as far as companies? Like, why are they purchasing these tables?
Absolutely. So we position ourselves from the company standpoint of like B2B corporate. We got a couple different verticals. Construction's been taking off for us, which we'll get into. But B2B corporate for their remote employees, because it's the only solution, like I've been saying, that fits any remote environment. So like maybe come full circle, and maybe the elevator pitch of what Lillipad is, since we haven't covered it, is Lillipad is the world's most versatile workstation, best solution for anyone that doesn't have a permanent home office, because we ship fully assembled. It arrives right to your door.
And it's a standing desk, but it's a workstation.
Yeah, it's a sit-stand desk. It goes from, you take it out of the box, it goes from 6 to 48 inches. We're the only ones in the world that have integrated the monitor arms. We've got a surge protector in the rear, which we haven't seen any other player do. And at the end of the day, you can roll it to wherever you want, set up wherever you want, and collapse it down to 6 inches to be stored underneath a couch, bed, in a closet, kind of wherever you please. So why companies are engaging with us and ordering for their remote employees is because it is an all-in-one solution. You don't have to piecemeal the remote work equipment outfitting by employee basis. Whereas Lillipad, it's kind of the all-in-one answer. The liability of sending in third parties to employees' homes to assemble other equipment is huge on their end. But also what we sell at Lillipad is productivity. So if you take kind of those setups that we've talked about previously of people working from their kitchen table on a bar stool, and they take an Amazon box and put their monitor on an Amazon box and run an extension cord to their computer charger, versus a Lillipad where you'll have two 27-inch external monitors, a laptop screen. Like which setup will you be more productive in? And definitely. The Lillipad's 10 times out of 10 results in greater productivity, higher energy levels because you can sit or stand, and then greater employee satisfaction because of the work-life balance to kind of work wherever you want and collapse it. So it's been pretty crazy. So that's the kind of the answer of why companies are finding Lillipad interesting and ordering Lillipads, is because it is the only workstation that fits all environments and has solved so many different problems. And the injury aspect of companies coming to us and being like, oh, hey, we just got a report that so-and-so has severe back pain and they have to go to the physical therapist for 3 months. Like, it's a real thing.
Yeah. Simple answer. That's the way it is. You're solving a lot of problems at once. That's great. I commend you for it. Congratulations.
Well, trying to. I can't solve all of them, but trying to.
Well, even just a few at a time is better than none.
There you go.
So, Colin, can you share with us a memorable or something funny that happened to you while working remotely?
Yeah. As a fan of the show, I've obviously been thinking about this one. I'm not too funny of a guy like Kaleem is. And we got to talk about how
It doesn't have to be funny. It doesn't have to be funny.
No.
We got to talk about how you're a Bears fan. Like, I love the loyalty, but how are you a Bears fan?
I think Walter Payton. I think that was just it. As a little kid, I think I liked him better than Steve Grogan. I think. I don't know what to say. Like, I think I picked the right team.
I love the simplicity. Yeah.
Maybe not, because they have about 20 Super Bowls now. But
I mean, well, let's be honest. Steve Grogan was never really part of a winning team, especially at the height of his career.
That's true.
For sure.
Anyway,
between that, but did you see we got a new president today? Or I saw on Twitter, I don't know if it was reported that they took the Big Ten commissioner as a Chicago Bears president. So,
oh, interesting. I'll have to get into that.
Yeah, we'll see. And then Devin Hester's got to go to the Hall of Fame soon. That's total bogus if he doesn't.
For sure.
But sorry, Rick, to get back to your question of interesting thing. I mean, one that stuck out to me was years ago. I was on a ski trip out in Telluride, Colorado with some cousins, and we were walking to get like breakfast burritos or something. And one of my older cousins, who's an entrepreneur himself, he started that company Pressbox. He kind of looks over. He's like, "Do you know what the dream is?" And I was like, "What's the dream, Drew?" And he's like, "The dream is to have a kick-ass, awesome job where you can work from anywhere and work in an awesome place like this, and then kind of live your life, go skiing, and do it." So, and that was in 2013. Wow. So he was looking at remote work well before the pandemic and whatnot.
That is interesting. Did it plant a seed, you think?
It planted a seed. I was like, oh, that's so true. Like whether or not you love the beach, whether or not you love big cities or mountains, kind of whatever your vibe is, if you can have your dream job and live there, I mean, that, whether it's part-time or full-time, that is kind of the dream. So that resonated with me, and fast forward to where we are today. I mean, I hope Lillipad can enable people to work from really wherever they want and do it in a fashion that kind of gives them more to see in life, right? Like another kind of rambling on, my dad, Jim, he used to commute in from the Chicago suburbs to downtown Chicago every day, and he did that for 20 plus years. And on the 19th year, he was doing the math in his head of how much time of his life he spent on the Kennedy Expressway, and he said he stopped counting because the answer was frightening.
Wow.
But like for remote work, I mean, unfortunately, he had to miss a lot of our sports games growing up, like baseball and hoops games and hockey games, because he was stuck in traffic. You know, with remote work, you don't get that anymore. You can go experience like the greatest things in life and still get your job done. So
that's the answer.
Tell Cousin Drew what's up. Cousin Drew hit it real hard, as we would say. Yeah. Well done, Cousin Drew.
Yes.
He told the future, "This is the dream, son. This is the dream."
I know.
That was a great answer. I appreciate it.
It's a good one.
Colin Dowdle, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, where can our listeners find you?
Yeah.
Check us out at lillipad.com, and we spelled it a little funky. So from a branding standpoint, it's LILLIPAD.com. And we've got a form on there. You can get in contact with us. On Facebook, we're at Lillipad, and Instagram, we're at LillipadCO. So come check us out. Be happy to chat, and look forward to seeing you guys.
Thank you so much, man. You are super sport to tolerate us for an hour.
Thank you.
Let's go make some snow or something.
Yeah.
Let's go make some snow. Bear down. All right, man. Peace.
You've been listening to the Remotely We Are One podcast. Visit us at remotely1.com/podcast for upcoming episodes. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and download our episodes on your favorite podcast app.
Hey, don't forget to clock out.